DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool. Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Newmark, and DJNTV Insiders.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's show of Texting Ben Stowe. Yes, that's right. Tonight's show is all about texting the one and only Ben Stowe. Oh, wait. No, that was next week's show.
We're using that voice again, huh?
Well, I wanted to be serious because
I can't tell if it's like, I need
the fireplace.
Masterpiece Theater or
I need a fireplace and a rocking chair. Tonight's episode will be about texting the Mr. Ben Stowe and how important it is to make sure you use proper punctuation when conferring with Mr. Ben Stowe.
You know, when you were doing that, the only thing I could think of was proximity effect with the microphone and inverse square law as you get closer and further. I thought, man, how hard is it to mic that guy? You know, some guy standing in the catwalk with a boom going
back and forth.
That's all I could think about. I know.
It's a sound guy thing. It's a sound guy thing.
I'm not right in the head.
Good evening. We've got streams going out to Facebook and YouTube tonight. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, we're going to be talking about one question that I have seen time and time again over the last couple of months, and we're going to dig into that tonight. And the idea that a lot of you are asking about is, I have some nice modern powered speakers. Do I need to have processing behind that? So Ben, what I wanted to do is kind of first talk about, when they're talking about processing, let's give the people an idea of what they're referring to, because they're talking about an external unit that would go between the mixer and the speakers. So what types of units are they talking about there? And then let's kind of dig into what those units can do, and then would they be beneficial? So let's define the units that they're talking about.
You know what? I'm still stuck on the picture that Jimmy made for the show. I'm not even, I can't even.
Okay, well,
first of all, I don't own a shirt that color. Second of all, I don't know what Jimmy never ceases to entertain me, and he always finds new and creative ways, and he comes up with some of the most amazing things. But Jimmy, listen, brother, please don't ever do that to my eyes again. I get creeped out looking at myself looking at that picture.
That was pretty creepy, I got to say.
Yeah, just please don't. I love you, Jimmy, but please don't ever do that again. But it is kind of interesting to be digitally redressed and see how you might look in a certain color.
Yes,
and I don't think that color is for me either. But
he does that quite often, and he does it very well. There's times it's like, do I own that shirt? I don't think I own that shirt.
I'll tell you what, Jimmy is so talented with Photoshop that he's maybe one of the most credible pieces of like Photoshop conspiracy theory, where you start questioning everything you see now. Go, is it real or is it Jimmy?
Yeah,
remember like the old Memorex commercials? Is it real or is it Memorex? Like, is it real or is it Jimmy? Did Jimmy doctor this picture?
Or did I really shake President Trump's hand? I don't remember, but it looks like I did. Yeah,
I was thinking maybe Jimmy could put me on the moon. For the record, I do think we went to the moon, but that's neither here nor there. So what is an audio processor? I guess now that I'm over the eyes and shirt thing,
we're okay now. Now we'll get into our topic.
It's cathartic, and it's like, oh goodness, yeah, thank you. You could revert back to your opening voice though and go, how does that make you feel?
Yes, no. Can you tell us deep down, how does that feel right there?
You know what? This was a lot. I don't know if it was a lot more fun. This is maybe more fun, but when we didn't do the shows live and there was a possibility of editing, because this entire intro sequence would be scrapped.
That's true. We'd have restarted, and then one component of it would have been taken and used as the beginning clip. So for those of you,
you did do that to me a few times.
Yeah. So you guys watched that would have been some of the 2014, some of the early shows.
My goodness.
Yeah, we did.
How many shows have we done?
I figured it out the other day. Was it, oh, goodness gracious, 100 and some shows. I mean, easily 100 some.
At least 100. Yeah, I know it's past 100.
We've got a playlist that has all of the shows. And actually, I'll go do that while we're talking. While you're telling us about what type of processing units are utilized in today's world, I'm going to look that up.
So if you're done binge watching old episodes of Roseanne or whatever, you could go binge watch episodes of this show.
You can. We'll get you the playlist.
There's probably a lot of other things you could do too, like
not as beneficial
or
not as beneficial.
Defrost your freezer. But if none of those things appeal to you, you could watch all the back episodes of the show. All right, so an audio processor, in its simplest of terms, is exactly that. It's a device that processes your audio, and what that means could be a multitude of things. Most modern processors are what we call a DSP, or a digital signal processor, and very often there are many components inside of one. Modern ADDA conversion chips and processing power has made this a lot easier. And we can, instead of using racks of outboard analog gear, we can now put it into one, little chassis. So you could have the ability to have multi-band parametric EQ. You could have a graphic EQ. Some of these have feedback eliminators. Sidebar, see our previous show on why I don't like feedback eliminators. You have compression. You may have some other effects type processing. You could have hard knee, soft knee limiter, that sort of thing. Some of the more advanced ones, like EV's DX46, even have FIR processing, which allows for things like temp limiting, algorithms that are sensing what that voice coil might be enduring based on program material. Others would have peak limiters, and there's just a multitude of things that you could do inside that device between when the signal comes in and when the signal goes out.
So then DJs are, obviously there's a lot of different things, but they're really, as you said, talking about that digital signal processing and probably more of a variation of an EQing. Is that what they're really trying to get from this for their sound?
I would think so. I think that's probably the most useful thing, whether it's an internal graphic or a parametric. Obviously I'm a big fan of parametric EQs. I love the fact that in almost every parametric EQ, you can change not only the frequency and the amplitude, but also the width of the filter. How wide or narrow is the notch that we're applying. So that can be really useful. But a good graphic EQ is almost essential, I think, in today's sound. So I would say, some DJs are going to maybe want to use the limiter. Again, noting that most of these are a peak limiter. And as our attendees at the Audio Symposium found out, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to save your sound system. We're sort of sidebarring here, and I think we did a show not that long ago on why speakers fail. But you have basically two reasons speakers fail. One is mechanical, and the other is thermal. As my good friend Ethan, who's probably one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life, and attendees at the Audio Symposium got treated to a little Ethan. He characterizes it like this: help, I can't cool down fast enough, and help, I can't move like that. Solving one problem actually makes the other one worse, in that using a peak limiter to prevent the speaker from getting too much voltage reduces the dynamic range of the signal and then increases the heat contained within the voice coil and can actually contribute to the other problems. So we have to kind of understand what's going on there. But a limiter used properly can be a very useful tool as well.
Okay, so we have some benefits of these processors. We kind of had an idea what they are.
Absolutely.
And, obviously hooking them in. Now the question becomes is if I'm running, and let's talk about something that a lot of us are familiar with our EV speakers. I have the ELX 200s in the other room. Have been playing with those. Would I, really twofold, would I need a digital signal processing? And then secondly is, if I don't, it is mandatory, would it help me if I did have one?
Well, I think the answer is, my favorite answer is, it depends. Again, a properly used DSP is always welcome in my rig. Of course, the ELX 200 does have a basic DSP built into the speaker, and that's really nice that you have some basic processing built right into the speaker. that doesn't mean that you wouldn't benefit from an external one. Need is difficult to define. I don't know if I would say you need one. I think that's a difficult word to define. But I would say that used properly, sorry, I'll come to your question here after this.
Yep.
Used properly, there's certainly some advantages to having one.
Could I tell if you set up a sound system without and a sound system, matching sound system with one, is there going to be enough harmonic difference between the two that I could actually tell by listening?
Absolutely. I think so. If I set it up, absolutely, because I'm going to tune for the room, which is something the loudspeaker really can't do. Even some of the loudspeakers that have built-in EQ, like the ETX has a built-in 3-band parametric, that's just not enough. It's great, and it's enough to make a few minor adjustments, but with a full 31-band graphic, I'm going to make some adjustments for the room to compensate for the acoustic properties of the room. And I would certainly hope that you would hear the difference. I think, anybody with any reasonable type of an ear, even if they couldn't put a finger on what they were hearing, would say, oh, that sounds better. And that doesn't mean that one speaker is good or bad or needs help or whatever. It's the room, again, it's the room. Now, if you don't tune the room properly, and you don't know what you're doing, it could be worse too. So that's why I say need is difficult to characterize. But tuning a room isn't really all that hard. Like we've said in previous shows, little changes, little mistakes, it's good sometimes just going to find something and say, wow, 2K is just a little bit biting right now. I'm just going to back that down just a little bit. And you go, oh, that's better. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound quite so harsh, maybe, or maybe it's a bit muddy. It's a bit woofy, and so we could go in and find some of those frequencies and scoop them a little bit. I would certainly like to think, John, that if we put two systems, one with a processor and one without, and I used one to tune, I would say if you can't tell the difference, then I should probably resign from the show and you need a new host.
Well, there is that.
Yeah. I guess I'll just have to stick to working for those tours.
Yeah, you'll have to continue to make those pancakes. So, yeah.
Hey, I make pretty awesome pancakes.
I know. That's why I'm saying you got to stick with the pancakes because it
doesn't pay very well making pancakes.
Yeah, well, the missus keeps you around because you make pancakes. So
there might be another reason, but it's sure rewarding making pancakes for the kids. So did you see the Easter egg ones?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, I was really quite proud of that. Yeah, my youngest daughter, we made a couple of small batches of pancake batter and dyed them different colors, and then we made egg-shaped pancakes.
Oh, so, no, I did. I missed that one. I don't have to.
Not as cool as the Star Wars pancakes. Those are going to be tough to top, but it's the thought that counts.
Sean, we'll get to that question in just a little bit. That's actually going to be, we'll be hitting that was one of my questions to follow up here in a bit. Okay, so we can see some benefits of. Let's give, for the people who are out there, kind of a price range of something that would be something you would recommend. And we don't have to talk specific brands unless you have some off the top of your head. But I mean, how much would they expect to invest to get something that's going to make them proud of their investment?
Well, so here we go. We talked a couple weeks ago. I think the title of the show was "Why Does My Mic Sound Like Crap?" Which, by the way, you're going to find this hilarious. I had no idea what the title of the show was until after I watched the replay. So the entire show, just the context of it had got by me. It was interesting answering the questions, but then seeing them in the context of the title of the show, I laughed and realized I'm like, oh man, that would have been good to know. I should have.
No, you did wonderfully. It was a good show, and I've had more people asking about the idea of the mixer, and I know Katie's had a couple of people get in touch with her with some pieces.
Well, and so on those lines, one of the key things we talked about there was the preamp and the quality of the preamp. But the other key thing we talked about was DSP that lives inside those mixers. So maybe if you had one of those, maybe you don't need one at all. Maybe. Okay, that's not a hard in the stone thing, because in addition to all the other things we talked about in these DSPs, there's also things like crossovers and that sort of thing. And something else we could talk about with some of the FIR-enabled crossovers or FIR-enabled devices is brick wall crossovers, where those crossover points are very steep, as opposed to an IIR crossover where it's a rolling slope. There we get into the Linkwitz-Riley and the Butterworth and that sort of thing, where so having those FIR crossover points could make that a much smoother sound if we just didn't use the crossovers that are built into those speakers and we used that external processor. So like your ELX 200s, for example, don't have FIR. ETX does. So that's one place. But talking specific brands, that would be something like Eevee's DX46, which is a bit more advanced and a bit more expensive, and probably not a pairing that you would find an ELX 200 and a DX46. You know, it's kind of sort of two different categories of products. But even something like a Drive Rack PA2, which is only a couple $100. I don't know exactly off the top of my head. I guess if anybody's interested, they can just send me a message and I will dig up a price for them. Maybe a special price just for asking, I guess. But that one has some neat features too, in that it's programmable via iPad or computer, Mac OS, Windows, whatever. And so you have a bit more of a graphic interface and a little easier to digest. Mm-hmm. And of course, one of the really cool things when you're tuning a system is the ability to take that iPad out and listen to the system when you're tuning. So that's a really cool thing. Now that can also be done with the DX46 using a laptop and Iris. And there's a lot of DSPs that do that. But I think that's another advantage there, talking about a very inexpensive DSP in the Drive Rack PA2. It's not as good. The quality of the chips isn't as good as, you know, some of the higher end DC1 or DX46 or SoundWeb or anything, you know, up in the, upper food chain. But I still think you could make an improvement, particularly on less expensive loudspeakers.
So kind of a 200 on up.
Yeah. Yep. And I think a good EQ is better than no EQ. Or I mean, a bad EQ is better than no EQ, you know? So I guess I'll say that, you know, a good EQ obviously is worth its weight in gold, you know, but now we're getting into, you know, linear phase EQs, and that's probably a show we'll never do. So
yeah, so we've touched on this topic before on a few occasions. For those of you who watch a lot, some of this is going to be repeat, but it's a question that comes up time and time again. So we wanted to make sure we hit this and hit it in a tight. But there have been some shows where we've gone into some incredible detail with graphics and showing the different equalizations and bringing the little pieces down. And then we showed that one show where we were going to bake cookies, but that didn't work out. Shut up, bake cookies.
Got to stick to pancakes, I guess.
Pancakes. So the way to wrap up and summarize, processing could be good. Not necessary.
I think, again, properly used, always welcome. And you'll never get better at it if you don't try. So I'm not saying everybody should run out and buy a processor, but there are certainly some advantages, not the least of which being able to tune for the room. You're not going to adjust the settings that are within the loudspeaker. Those are DSP settings within the loudspeaker you don't even have the access to. The box is tuned for itself. Things like time arrival between the drivers and you know, some basic system tuning, that sort of thing. But output system tuning, you know, for the properties of the room, the placement of the loudspeaker, maybe delay. Again, some loudspeakers have delay built in, which is really handy. But here again, you could do it from your device and an iPad and say, I've got to put this delay speaker over here, or maybe I want to just time align my subs with my tops due to where they're placed, you know, with regard to my stage or my room. There's all kinds of ways. I mean, I find personally, DSP indispensable.
Sure.
I could not really imagine life without it with what I do. And I realize what I do is different. But I mean, to me, it's not really an option, you know?
Good.
For you, it very well is.
Could be. Yep. You're there at a different, most DJs are at a way different level than what you are when it comes to your sound system demands.
Yeah. And that's all right too. So, oh, hey, we've got a guest here just made an appearance. Hi, honey. Hello. You're live on national TV.
Hello.
We're talking about loudspeaker digital signal processors. You want to chime in on that?
No, we're not. He was just talking. Dad's going to go make you some cookies.
He doesn't know how to bake well.
What? Okay,
that's
honey,
truth.
It's time for bed. You got to go. Bye-bye.
The truth comes out. Bye, hon. Oh, that was our best show ever.
So, interestingly, there's a logarithmic relationship between loudspeaker drive temperature and loudspeaker live. See, now she got me all flustered. Loudspeaker drive amplitude and voice coil temperature. So, if I was going to bake cookies, it would probably be with a voice coil from a loudspeaker.
Or we were talking about those halogen lights. So for those of you who are watching the show and you want us to stay on topic, that time is probably now over because we have other things we're going to talk about tonight that don't pertain to sound systems or processing. First
the
off,
topic went to bed with my daughter.
so we lost her. We lost that. You'd swear that I had, slipped her a $10 bill to go and say that too. Didn't even need to. Oh, that was funny. So the question that came up, Sean put this in the Facebook group. If you guys have got some questions, we're just going to kind of hang here for about 15, 20 minutes and answer some questions and have a little gab session. Sean was wondering if Tony ever made it back.
There is a second video. We actually did go find Tony.
For those who aren't familiar, tell us about the first video.
Well, so the first video, I lost my pen now. I lost my thing to hold on to and waggle around here.
Yeah, you whipped it over. You tossed it over your shoulder in frustration.
Yeah, it's gone right with my dignity.
There was that.
So, goodness. Anyway, the first show we did was testing distance on the new Chevy BT Air Bluetooth lights. And I have a high degree of skepticism on Bluetooth, especially based on what I know about Bluetooth and audio. But I was stunned. The Bluetooth on these worked until about 500 feet.
That's what I thought.
Granted, I mean, I was absolutely blown away. I would have wagered against it if I was a betting man any day. But I'll tell you what.
So again, for the people who didn't see it, they were outside in northern Minnesota, which is not. There was a wind. It was kind of cold. And they send this poor man walking down the street carrying, was it like an iPad or something?
It was an iPad, yeah.
It
was an iPad. It had the app on it. And yeah, we just said, walk and every 5 seconds, because if it loses signal, it'll continue to run the last program. So if we didn't change the program, we wouldn't know when it quit. So we said, okay, every 5 seconds, change the program and just keep walking. And he raised his hand when he changed the program, and if we saw a corresponding change in lights, or when we saw him raise his hand and we didn't see a change, we knew it had quit working. And it was it worked intermittently from about 500 to 600 feet. But I think I would say again that's ridiculous. That's well beyond what they were intending when they built these. And the other thing I want to say, just to be fair to our viewers, is this was outdoors. There was really no 2.4. Which is that's gonna cut your range a little bit, when you're indoors and there's other 2.4 around. But I was stunned, very impressed, very impressed for what this is designed to do. A non-DMX, easy Bluetooth, lights pop up on your app. You can have 8 groups of up to 8 lights each, and bang, and off you go. But yeah, so we just the thing was though that when Tony got to the end of the range, we didn't tell him. We just let him keep going.
There becomes the video 2 problem.
So we had to go find Tony. Yeah. So
that's video 2. And I walked all the way down to the Sanford Center.
But Tony's a Minnesotan, so he was fine. It was 36 degrees today, which in Minnesota in spring actually feels kind of nice. The wind was blowing a bit, and that was unpleasant. But Jeremy is from South Florida, and that was very obvious. You could see he was struggling a lot in 36-degree weather.
He's like, they don't really make it this cold, do they? Yes, they do. So for those who aren't familiar, the 3 lights now in the Bluetooth series, so far they just have kind of a wash or flood type lights. Am I correct?
Yeah, they have 2 pars and a bar. And they have tri and quad, and that's all they have right now are the 3 lights in the series. We have a few hundred of each model, I think, coming in, and I suspect those will go very fast. When you break that down to somebody who might buy 10, you're not talking about just 20 people who could get 10 lights. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to go very quickly. And this is sort of, I guess, a public service announcement where I'm saying, if you want some, you should let us know, and I don't want to turn this into an infomercial, and I'm sorry for that, but we do have financing available and that sort of thing. So now when I saw those out at NAMM, they had them at NAMM, and I was looking at that, and I was thinking for the wedding DJ who wanted to have something that was quick and easy. Unfortunately, I didn't have much time to play with those. I thought this could be a really great option because I know I've enjoyed controlling lights with the tablet. Now,
Did you get the chance to play with the app? Like, does the app control dimming of the lights, and where you could chase and static and do different things with it, or what?
I never really got the chance.
Okay.
They let me touch it for about 3 seconds, but they were having too much fun with it. They were, between Kat and Katie and Tony, and everybody was having a good time. And I said, no, okay, all right, it's fine. So I didn't really get a chance to play with it. They did, and that's great.
Yeah. From what I was seeing, it looked like for a wedding DJ who just wants to have something basic and simple, and you want to be able to wash, that the idea you could wash, have some on the stage, and then you could have some additional uplights, and you could control them all basically from that tablet and do some really, really nice wash effects. Which, short of DMX programming, I mean, this is like another option or different.
Well, and it's instantaneous. I mean, it's so fast for that type of thing. If you want to do some very basic chases and whatnot, to have that control, and I'm sure the app is going to evolve too. I think they're going to add some functionality to the app and that sort of thing. But even just what I saw them doing with some basic chase programs and things like that, I was really impressed. Yeah,
they definitely look like something that mobile DJ, wedding DJ who's not looking for the big DMX could definitely check out. Let's see. Somebody had asked, I saw somewhere, and I had asked you the same question earlier, is kind of an update on the music store now. Products and everything have been coming in, and you guys are getting everything set up there.
Yeah, it's exciting. Obviously all of us in this industry are music lovers in one way or another, and what better way than to love musicians, right? So now we have guitars and drums and heads and sticks and cables and strings and everything, band and orchestra. All those sorts of things. So I've got my visitor is back, but she's out of view. So you can stay out of view too if you're going to criticize my
cooking. Yeah.
Good night. Yeah. It's pretty neat to have all those kinds of things. And we've focused on name brands, Fender, DW, Gretsch, that sort of thing, Remo, Evans, Aquarian. I'm a drummer, so I'm thinking the drum ones here, of course, but Van Dorn, Rico. It's been really exciting to bring the pairing of the pro audio, video, and lighting products we've carried for 25 years and expand that into full MI for musicians. It's been a tremendous undertaking. It certainly has been a challenge, but it's been really fun to remodel the showroom and do that for our community.
So if people, like myself, who's mainly a DJ, but I have children who break guitar strings or something, how would we get in touch or order, say, if I needed replacement guitar strings?
Right now, the easiest thing is we're still working on getting those things cataloged and available for online ordering. The easiest thing would be just to contact your NLFX rep like usual, or contact myself and say, I need an E string, whatever you need. And we have hundreds of models of strings. And so we can do the heavy lifting. If you say, I'm not really sure what I need, or if you say this is exactly what I need, we can get that, put it in an envelope and get it on the way to you right away. Nice thing about something like guitar strings is you could send those postal service for very, very little money.
Yeah.
Just reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We'd be, super happy. It's already been the case. In fact, John, we've had, we shipped some drum heads to Texas, and we shipped some cymbals to Arkansas, and we've shipped some guitar strings all over. And just reach out, and eventually we'll have those products on our website and whatnot as well. So most DJs that I know have some musical connection, if even just recreationally, or like you said, kids, if they need reeds or, cleaning kit for their instrument, or, single string because they're always breaking the E string or something, that one does get broke a lot, I'm told. So
let's see. We get some more questions here. John has one from the YouTube channel. What diffuser would you recommend for using as a light, or using as an uplight to spread the light or spread the color out more?
Well, I think it depends here as well. There's a lot of different kinds of diffusion. We have a diffusion pack that has samples, and it's really, really nice there, as you could try different ones to see which one you want to order more sheets of. There are directional diffusions that diffuse more in one direction and not the other, and the others are more radial. I would say if you're just looking for something general, maybe like a half white diffusion or a quarter white diffusion If you go on our website and you just type in diffusion, you should get all kinds of options. And we've got pictures that also show the aggressiveness and the pattern of the diffusion on there for you. So I would say probably a half white or a quarter white, noting here that the more you diffuse, the less intense your light is going to appear. We're spreading that light energy out. So that's why I would say it kind of depends. If you go with a full white diffusion, you'll get tremendous smooth diffusion, but you're going to need some horsepower in that light.
How much would you say would it, if you had like 100-watt light, if you put the full white diffusion, is it going to feel like you went to like a quarter of the light output brightness wise? Or, I mean, is there any kind of a rule of thumb with that?
There might be. And actually, my very good friend, Big Ben, is going to spend the week with us here at the Stowe household. He's a lighting designer who's coming in to tech a show at the local university, and it's kind of an annual thing we do. It's our excuse to binge watch Star Wars and whatever. But he might have a number off the top of his head, but I don't think so, because I think there's so many variables here that I think that'd be very difficult to say. And you're not really losing the light; you're just spreading it out. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, some of it's obviously going to get lost in the diffuser, but.
Let's see. Okay, we got that question. And, I'm going to get back to Day. I'm going to get back to your question. The DBX Go Rack was a hot little device. That little one. You're familiar with what I'm referring to?
Was being the operative word. It is past tense.
Yeah, they aren't making those anymore. Somebody was asking what the opinion was on that.
It's gone. That's my opinion.
I think, and I have some. I've got a couple of them here. And when they first came out, I thought, oh, this is really kind of a cool. And the more I used it, and it's a noisy. There's a lot of hiss in it. I think for using it, like when the kids are wanting to run an iPod into it and then running it to a powered speaker, it's an inexpensive mixer. But it's nothing for. I haven't taken it to use at a show, and I don't know if I would. That's my personal opinion on it.
Yeah, I'd leave that up to the individual. I agree with your assessment, John, but yeah, a lot of people use them and like them. And, to me, I would simplify my answer to what I just said. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. So, if you've got one and you like it, great. If you're looking for one, you're probably going to be looking hard. I wouldn't look that hard for it. There's other options out there.
So Day and Night asked, because the Evolve 50's now been out for 9 months or what have you. And Ben, I'll have you I want you to take your dealer cap off now. Have you been hearing any negative feedback on the Evolve 50's?
Stunningly, very little. And I say stunningly because I don't think you can get wholesale agreement on anything in a community of audio professionals. But I think the only complaints that we've heard are people who are trying to do something that the devices are just not made to do. And I've said it before, if you could do arena shows without loading a semi of gear, we would do that. Mm-hmm. We don't like unloading semis of gear. So really surprisingly, no. I was worried there would be more just based on experience with other products. When we shipped hundreds of these things, I thought, oh man, it's been overwhelmingly positive.
And I would agree, because I've been following on different boards, and generally when speakers have been out, there's somebody who's going to complain. We heard it with every speaker line. There's somebody who's like, oh yeah, this is, and it's been incredibly. I haven't even heard many people who are using it inappropriately, meaning, oh, I took it to a teen dance and it didn't give me enough thump. I haven't heard anybody with that one. Everyone's. I was
expecting more, to be honest with you, and not because I didn't like the speaker. I love the speaker, but just based on experience, 25 years of selling gear to DJs.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're not, because they don't take the advice of the right rig for the gig. They don't do that most of the time. But it seems that for the people, most of the people I've seen are wedding professionals, and they've just been loving the response that what the speakers have been giving them. So
I think the best testament has been the reorders. The best testament has been both the referrals from owners and the people who are ordering more. Mm-hmm. And that's really, you can just sort of, when somebody is willing to spend their money on it again,
that's kind of telling.
Yeah,
that they didn't learn the first.
Yeah. No, again, I think as long as you keep it what it is, it's a fantastic speaker. it's Electro Voice really did a nice job with that. They waited and they watched and they did a nice job with that. And they were definitely behind in the column game. And, the only way to make that work is to come out with something that really changes the rules. And this did. And now I think we're seeing the other column companies trying to play catch up. And we're a dealer for 300 brands, ballpark. Mm-hmm. So we're not really, anybody's, fanboy. I do love Electro Voice products, but I love a lot of products. And my first loyalty always is to my customers.
Sure.
Ultimately, the manufacturers don't put any food on my plate. It's the customers that do. And so, you got an unintentional glimpse of my daughter earlier. That's what I'm working for. And so if I don't take care of the customers and I don't take care of the people who are putting food on her plate, then I'm accountable to her. So, that's where my first loyalty is.
Yeah, I don't know why Ben's audio went dip down just a little bit ago.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it now came back. We're all good.
It was a good speech too.
Well, no, we got the speech. It was ahead of that.
Yeah. I think it might be that this is an Electro Voice microphone I'm using, and they said, "What's he saying? Turn it down." I don't know. I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, it's probably that setting in Zoom. I was wondering if I was trying to think back. Did you all of a sudden, kind of give a peeking, and that the ducking would have kicked in on Zoom? It does that.
DSP.
Yes.
DSP built into Zoom.
Built into Zoom, which is smarter than, we can't figure out how to defeat it so we can have consistency. We want consistency. Okay, well, Ben, we're going to wrap things up here so you can go make sure everyone's tucked into bed. Next week.
I know at least one that's not.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, hee, Daddy, I told him you can't cook. I mean, not that we'll ever hear that one ever brought up again. Nope.
There was a time when I played a prank on my son, and he was about 8 or 9 at the time, I think. So, and then he returned to the prank. I was taking a shower one morning, and all of a sudden, a glass of ice cold water came over the shower curtain, and I thought, I deserve that. But then I thought, I got to be careful what I teach, what pranks I pull on my kids, because this is going to come back to haunt me.
Yes, they do.
But then I also felt like I should probably remind my son that I had not taught him every prank. So, listen, you don't want to make this an arms race, okay? Anyway, so I guess the moral of that story is that at some point, I'm sure I will get her back for that. I'll probably control the audio for her wedding, and I'll remember for a long time.
Dads don't forget. We just make lists. Yeah. Oh, that sounds good. Next week, you're going to be doing the I-29 tour, so we'll be catching up on a remote location. Do we know where yet? What city you'll be broadcasting from?
It'll be either Sioux City or Omaha on Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly where yet. Trying to coordinate a few things. My schedule really doesn't allow, but I'm doing it anyway. I promised I'd come down and see some people, and I'm trying to honor that. And I guess we'll just have to sort of work with a somewhat fluid schedule, and then get back for a really crazy weekend that weekend. So I'm not sure exactly where, but we'll find a place. We'll find it. We'll find a way.
Sounds wonderful. I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight, and we will be back in about 20 minutes with our second show. Brian, we're going to be talking about some more of your online questions that you guys have been having about selecting the right type of gear for your gig. And Brian's got some interesting thoughts, and we'll be talking about those in about 20 minutes. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, John.
Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Newmark, and DJNTV Insider.